Hey guys, it's Kathryn, and this is Little Bits of Heaven Homestead. So I totally meant to give you updates on our pea egg progression. I did the candling, I think it was like about 3 weeks ago, and time flies when you're busy. So I haven't had a chance to update, felt guilty about that, but our pea chicks started hatching. So came out this morning and heard some peeping, came over and checked, and we had one. I don't know if you guys can see, but I've got 1, 2 right there, and then 2 more eggs that have pipped. And so an egg that is pipped, and I can't necessarily show you without getting up close and personal, but the egg, it just has this little like chip taken out of it. And then the next step as far as hatching goes is they zip, which it sounds and looks exactly like it sounds. They create like this little line across the egg, like they're unzipping a zipper, and then they bust out of it. So we are excited about this, waiting for, I've got a total of 8 that developed, and I'm hoping that they all hatch. So aside from that, I thought I'd give you some homestead updates. I've shared with you guys before that I am kind of always in a process of self-analyzation and taking a look at our system and trying to make things more efficient. As we've grown through the years, we've kind of added a system here, added a system there, and we didn't necessarily add the most efficient of systems. And we're definitely, I would call us more like an old school mentality and systems as far as like our feed and waters. I'm very heavily involved in the day-to-day, and as I'm taking a look at things and as I'm getting older and our kids are moving on, and that's one of our events this past week, is we moved our middle daughter out. She recently graduated from college, and she is going to attend our local university. She got a good job here in town, and so she's pretty much all set and working her way into adulthood. But that's been one of our major events this week, and kept us busy. We were shuffling stuff into town. We've been working on getting her apartment cleaned up and ready for her. So big things happening here. And so we're also now rearranging the interior of our home because our youngest daughter has laid claim to our middle daughter's bedroom. And so not only is there evolution on the homestead, there's evolution within our family dynamics and inside our home. So it's just been a lot of hustle and bustle. But I wanted to talk to you guys about continuing to evolve and reevaluating your systems. And so something I'm taking a look at is our goat herd specifically, and ways that we can feed them at a lower cost, because they are by far my most expensive livestock here on the homestead. We have what we would call a dry pasture or dry paddocks, and so I'm having to supplement a ton of hay, and it's costing us kind of ridiculous amounts. And because we're breeding for not only meat but also milk, I have certain goats that I prefer as far as my milk line, and so we always want to have somebody out there who is pregnant and or getting ready to kid, so that we've got kind of a constant milk supply, as we really enjoy having fresh milk here on the homestead. So that's something that's been important to us. But with that comes goat kids. And this past year I had, I believe it was 13 kids. I should really go out and count my goats. You lose count after a while. It's called homestead math, and you just stop counting after a while. And most all of those goat kids were males. So I did a video on banding them. If you guys didn't check that out, you should check that out, because anytime you have a male heavy anything, be it a flock of chickens, ducks, goats, rabbits, there tends to be testosterone issues, there's fighting, there's competition, and so it's important to manage your numbers. And also with goats, one of your options is to ban them, so that way they are no longer, well, I should have brought it. I've got a testicle sac that fell off of my baby goats that we banded. They actually dry up and fall off, and I was going to use them for the first time I went live after breaking 1,000 subscribers, but I still am unable to go live because YouTube has deemed, I'm assuming it was my chicken slaughter video, but against community standards. So I've, at least for now, am limited on being able to live stream. So you guys get these videos from me which I'm bummed because I totally love the live streams. But yeah, so I have these goat testicles that I found out in the yard, and that was from banding them. That's totally natural for them to dry up and fall off. But it's just wise management as far as livestock goes, because it would be a terrible thing to have 13 bucks full of testosterone out in my yard. So this was not only important for my own personal safety, but for the health and well-being of our female goats. So these are things that you need to keep in mind when you do go into homesteading. So something we did this week that is a first for us, and Joe is actually, my husband is actually in the kitchen right now, and if I weren't doing this video I would be helping him, but he is processing, cutting up goat meat. We did harvest our first goat intentionally this past week. A part of thinning our numbers and being prudent as far as our homestead resources is we've got goats that are definitely freezer ready, and since I'm raising for meat and milk, harvesting is part of the meat part. So we did, it was one of our wethers from last year, and I have one more of them to go. They're relatively large. It would have been wise for us to process him much earlier than we did. We've poured a lot of hay and a lot of resources and time and effort into him, and it would have been much wiser to process him, like, say, 6 to 8 months ago. We do have our wethers that were born in the beginning of December, so they'll be coming up next. These pea chicks are super cute. I'm hoping to, well, some of them I incubated for a friend, and then we will keep whatever is left over, and we're hoping to raise them and potentially harvest them like we would a turkey for Thanksgiving. Thought that would be fun to have peafowl for Thanksgiving some year. So part of us being as self-resilient, self-sufficient as possible, we've got these resources, we need to put them to use. We did process some of our breeder rabbits, which was hard for me emotionally, but only because one particular buck, he was very first litter I had here on the homestead from my very first rabbit. He was one of 3, and I rehomed him to the breeder I got my rabbits from. And about 2 years later, she contacted me. She was thinning her herd, and he got sent back to me. And he was just the sweetest thing that's ever walked on this planet. I mean, he was just all cuddles and just kindness, but he stopped breeding. I think I let him get fat and lazy. That's something I haven't been great at, is keeping up with my breeding schedule, because I try to breed just for our own personal needs, but we don't necessarily eat enough rabbit that warrants me breeding them, say, back to back to back, and because of that they do develop internal fat, and it has been a hindrance to our rabbit program. So we made the decision. It was a hard decision, but we decided to eliminate all of our current breeders. And I do have rabbits in grow out pens that are younger and in theory leaner, so we'll bring them up and restart our program there. Rabbit is by far our most productive and most eaten meat / protein on the homestead, so that's something I definitely want to keep going. They're also our least amount of work involved. I did find out when I traveled that it's also my weakest link as far as self-sustaining for a day or 2 or 3 days if I were to leave the homestead for whatever reason. So definitely aware of that, and I have come up with some solutions, including the automatic watering nipples from my friend Nick at Hostile Hare. I am affiliated with him, so if you guys are ever interested in his products, if you would shop through my link, that would be greatly appreciated. But he is going to be joining us on Dirt Patch Heaven. If you guys aren't aware, we do live shows on Dirt Patch Heaven Facebook page regularly. I did one yesterday, just making dinner and kind of chit-chatting with everybody, but we've been showcasing the sun ovens that we also carry in our Etsy store, which I absolutely love. I need to do some videos here on sun ovens because it is such a cool tool, and I use it a whole lot more than I thought I would. But we've got Marianne from Mary's Heirloom Seeds. She's going to start doing shows with us on Dirt Patch Heaven. So if you haven't checked us out over there on Facebook, you should hop on over. And so I just wanted to show you my peas, give you guys a quick homestead update. Do check out my other videos. Thanks for joining me, and we shall talk to you soon.